Hello again, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope you guys are doing well tonight. Sorry that we missed you guys on Tuesday. I know we're used to the usual Tuesday night. We were actually out on the road, and good to see y'all here. Oh man, sounding southern, right? I said y'all. Good to see y'all here. Well, been about 10 years, 11 years in the South. It's good to see everybody. You know, there is so much going on right now. And honestly, I purposely have stayed away from the political end of things, just because it's so hard to keep the peace, you know, and I don't want to spread negative vibes. But yet there's so much going on. It's like you want to talk about it, but you're afraid to bring it up. And, you know, I don't want to spread any negative vibes in this world because there's plenty. For sure. There is plenty. And we don't need to add to it. But at the same time, you don't want to put your head in the sand either. So there is so much stuff going on all across the board. Yeah, I'm just looking at the Drudge Report right now, and it was talking about MSNBC's Rachel Maddow organizing street marches, you know, obviously upset over President Trump firing Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And so, you know, there was a mass bunch of protests that were slated for today at 5 p.m. and from what I saw, you know, there's supposedly something like 800 of them. And brother Hopi NG says politics is built to harness negativity, to create negativity under the guise of positive lies. And amen to that. You know, that is dead on. Good to see all you guys. You know, yeah, that is dead on. And if you saw, like, the 2 times I talked to Steve at WSO, I mean, he personally believes something that I kind of came to the same conclusion of, that there are some entities that are controlling our matrix, that they feed off of negative energies. They feed off of fear. They feed off of hatred. That's their fuel source. Think of the Matrix movie, you know, when they find that all the people's bodies are actually plugged in and the AI, you know, are using the bodies as batteries. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. You know, everything is energy. Life feeds off of energy, ultimately. You know, some would say life feeds off of life. And it would make an awful lot of sense when we look at that from that perspective. If really, you know, that is the case. And I have sources, you know, people that have been in the government and have had family members in the government, and they've shared with me that the ones at the top, you know, we see these cabal, Illuminati families and stuff, but really the beings at the top are non-human. And, you know, that's the true top of the pyramid, is not a human top to the pyramid. And, you know, I guess, you know, they said that those in the know realize this. And again, that would make sense, because if they're not human and the earth is not their home, then perhaps they really wouldn't care so much about poisoning it and everything that we see. So again, that would kind of make some sense too. Good to see all you guys. Stack, Kai, Hopi, Mick, Chris, 9-Star, Michael, and I saw Love Matters in there somewhere. Mark, good to see everybody. Yeah, I realized after making that video about, you know, when we're talking about the Bible prophecies, there was one other prophecy that has also some people are saying is being fulfilled as well. And at the moment, it slips my mind. Hello, Maya. Hello, Bill, Justin. And of course, some would say this is God fulfilling the prophecy, and then others would say we're fulfilling the prophecies ourselves. And then some would say that these entities that are non-human at the top, that are perhaps living off of our negative emotions, they're the ones doing it. I hope you feel better, Hopi. Good to see you, Curtis, Sherry, Susan. It's good to see everybody. But one thing, looking at the news, like this other part over here off the Drudge Report, we are on the verge of a constitutional crisis due to Sessions firing. This is all, I can't help but feel this is all part of the play, the drama, that really has been kind of, it's kind of been set up from a long time ago. That all this is just really all part of the big show that they want to make come on down. And then again, there are a lot of signs that say that there really are some white hats fighting the black hats and truly trying to change the status quo and all. And yes, I have a ton of pictures I'm going through. Actually, I was trying to get that video done before going live, but I didn't have enough time to get it set as far as putting together another grouping of pictures, because we have a ton of more pictures. And actually, probably the best pictures from that last series that I sent out, I didn't even show. I realized I didn't even open those up, so there's some really interesting ones that I have to show you guys. And I swear I wouldn't doubt if what we're seeing is a lot of top level ultra secret military drones being used, and possibly some craft is actually ET. I don't know, but there's definitely tons of craft in the sky. And when I get this next video up, you'll see in one picture you can see probably close to 20 craft in this one picture, and they're something. They're definitely something in the air. They're not dust. They're not specks. I would believe they're drones for sure, or maybe something else. But we're seeing a lot of stuff up in the skies. Things are really getting very, very crazy up there, and then they're crazy down here too. And you could feel that we're heading towards that. Well, they're trying to get us to a point of almost civil war. Well, they'd probably love us to have a civil war. But everything is so, again, it's all about dissension. It's all about keeping us split. And now we have intense fires out in California again. And of course, so many people think that they are using dues on this again. Yeah, a lot of times Regina says she sees a lot of little triangles in her pictures, but nothing with the naked eye. And it's a lot of times you just don't notice it, and then you start seeing all these things that are up there. And who knows what we can trust to be real. As we've known about Project Bluebeam forever, and there's much higher tech now. But then also, we get things leaked. Like they were talking about now having military drones over our own cities, over U.S. cities, that are not involved in any sort of fighting. So I'm thinking that's probably what we're seeing in some of these pictures, is some military drones that they're leaking, that they're thinking about deploying, and they've already deployed a ton of them. So I would venture to guess that that is probably a lot of what we're seeing. And then Brother Dave here sent me a YouTube video. I'm not sure who made it, but it's again about things being projected in the sky holographically, even just clouds being projected holographically. Oh, this is Dr. Claudia Albers. So she was just basically saying, again, they're projecting things in the sky holographically. And you know, one of the things that hit me too, right? If there really is a sun simulator, and it really is throwing off a lot of heat, then do we have anything to really worry about from the grand solar minimum? What do you guys think about that? And Regina says there's been a lot of low-flying military craft in North Carolina. What section of North Carolina are you in, Regina? Because I noticed it today a couple of times. Hello, Rosemary. There's definitely some helicopters that I couldn't see. And then what sounded like again, maybe possibly some heavy prop planes that might have been military as well. Secure team was talking about a giant floating building above Sweden. You know, we're seeing crazy stuff up in the air. But when you think about it, you know, if we are getting a little bit of a soft disclosure going on now, maybe they're just showing us some of the wild technology they have in the secret space program. I'm not sure how many of you guys follow. Have you followed David Wilcock and Corey Good and now Emery Smith? And there's a new one out too. There's another guy that says that he was part of the secret space program. Jason something. But it's interesting listening to him. Very, very interesting listening to him, whether you believe in it or not. But it feels like if you followed it the whole time, because I think they are on like season 12 now. And of course, David Wilcock left Gaia, and I think that Corey Good is leaving Gaia if he hasn't left it already again too. But when you listen to what these guys are talking about, it seems to make an awful lot of sense. Of course, again, it could be another psyop with a little bit of a misdirection, giving us 90-95% of the truth, but keeping that 5 to 10%, you know, just enough, you know, falsehood in there to twist it a certain way. So you guys, if anybody wants to give a call in, it's 614-400-5835. Yeah, I've subscribed to Gaia for a while, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think it's interesting nonetheless. So tell me what you guys think. What should we be talking about? What's the really big topics? Hope he's talking about frequency has been upped. Mark says dues, yeah. Jason says, truth here, Satan is a liar and the father of it. But what about that? So if the sun simulator is an actual fact, and we have patents, we've talked about that, if it could really actually throw off intense amounts of heat, then do we really have anything to fear from a grand solar minimum? Because I think one of the things they've left out of the grand solar minimum is the technology that we really have that we haven't really been shown firsthand. Yeah, see, yeah, Stack was talking about the caravan. Yeah, now that the election's over, watch the caravan fade into nothingness. I wouldn't doubt that at all. That felt totally like that was what it was all about. But you never know. Hello, Keith Henry. Yeah, I've had multiple people check in with me about the sun setting in different areas and confirm that they find it setting in different areas. Active shooter drills always precede these live events. That is true. Hello there, Lisa. How are you tonight?
I'm fine, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. So what are you thinking about tonight?
Well, I've been thinking the past few days about what you were saying about the sun and how people have said that it's coming up at a different location. And I find that really interesting. I don't get out a lot in the morning, and I don't take statistics about where it is, right? But when I first moved down here, the sun would come in the bathroom window, so that the eastern window, if the shower curtain wasn't drawn, you'd get blinded, right? It would feel like, and you'd have to yank the shower curtain. Well, it's really strange because it's that time of the year that it should be blinding me, right? It's not. It's not in the same position. So there are definitely changes in the location of the sun this year. And that's how I tell it, because it's not shining in that window like it used to be. And another thing is that on the porch, my potted plants aren't getting the same type of sunlight that they normally would. And another big change is every year at this time of year, we'd have these beautiful big avocados. My father was from the Cayman Islands, and I grew up in Tampa, but he moved down here that is actually below what they call the frost line in Northport, Florida, so that he could grow his tropical fruits, right? That avocado tree is on the east, and this year some of the leaves got burned, and not only that, it never blossomed anything. And this is the time of the year that we would go out and, gosh, you get 30 or 40 avocados off that tree and share them with the neighbors.
Yeah,
so,
they could be very prolific, but there's definite changes going on. I'm thankful that, I haven't found here what Rex found over in Colorado and northern New Mexico, and it's probably because of the altitude, because, they're up very...
Closer.
Yeah, so, the UV is definitely having an effect on things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, by being lower here, we're not seeing the leaves getting as scorched, right? But I do believe that morning sun, we're flat land here, right?
Right.
And, the property beyond us doesn't have very many trees. So there really wasn't even the shade of other trees protecting the avocado tree from the sunlight that was coming in. And my dad passed away a couple of years ago, so it's not like I could even ask him, what do we do? But I just think, wow, there's evidence there. And then, of course we all know about the red tide. I mean, that's almost beyond discussing now, because it's ruined the economy down here, and and people's health. And I know I don't spend the time outside that I used to. You know, I can't.
Right. And so, I mean, out there in your area now, because you're Gulf side, and it is on the east as well. It's on the Atlantic as well. How is it?
Oh, I know.
How is it now compared to when we were together in person?
Well, I do not travel to the beach at all. My friend's son got married on the 29th of September, and the beach was cleared in the morning, but his family, like all the uncles, because they got married on Inglewood Beach, and by the afternoon, all the uncles were out there cleaning off more dead fish. And then before the service, which was near sunset, they were cleaning more dead fish. I mean, it was, and half of the people could not go out and actually attend the services on the beach because of the air quality. And we're getting a lot of, you know, snowbirds, as we call them, back down. And my friend works for a UPS store where she services a lot of them, and they are just totally complaining about it. And they're also complaining about the extreme heat, because like we had maybe a week and a half of relatively cool temperatures, like high 70s, low 80s. And this week, you know, I was out about 11 o'clock in the morning and it was 87 degrees again. You know, it's been running like that for the last week or so. And it's just something, as a local, I don't do. You know? I don't waste the gas going out. Because if you check Marine Laboratories' little page that tells you where the red tide is, it's still, all the dots are out. It's still out there.
Yeah, and I think if it makes it through this winter and it doesn't really change much, then we're in, you know, it's just, it's I don't want to say it's over, but I mean, everything is just permanently changed and it's not good. I think,
No.
I think, can you imagine what we're going to end up seeing, you know, say next summer? It's just going to be incredible, and it'll probably end up spreading, you know, up to Charleston and spreading all throughout the whole Gulf Coast states.
Absolutely, and it's quite horrifying. As a native Floridian, when, I'll tell you what, I always feared drilling off the coast, right? And I would always vote because I lived in Florida until I was 42, okay? So up to that time, if there ever came anything that we were going to vote on whether or not to allow offshore drilling, I was like, no, you know, not in our area, right? Because that's what I feared. I feared oil ruining the pristine beauty of the Gulf Coast, particularly the southwest part of it. Because once you get down off of, say, Manatee County, it is just gorgeous. I mean, my dad, we always called him a water snob because he grew up in the Cayman Islands. He grew up on Grand Cayman and immigrated here, you know, got his citizenship when he was 15. But he would never, we grew up in Tampa, but even though it's pretty up there, my dad would never allow us to swim there. He brought us down into Manatee County because his test was, can I stand in the water up to my neck and see my toe? You know? And he was 6'2". So anyway, he raised us up going to Manatee County or Sarasota County because that's where the water was so clear, and it continues to be like that all the way down to Marco Island. But so anyway, I was always very protective of the purity of those waters, and never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that the you know, the ecological contamination would have come through Lake Okeechobee due to fertilizers, you know, and then that anybody would have cut special canals to drain it, to put it into the Everglades, or that it would have come through the waterways out into the Gulf. I mean, that is beyond my comprehension, you know, that they could have endangered the pristine, beautiful waters. We used to go to Longboat Key, and you would watch the dolphins play out in the waters, you know. In fact, just last summer, or it might have been the summer before when we were visiting, we were at Boca Grande, and we had a family of manatees swim by out in the Gulf, and it just supported so much life. You know, when I lived on Anna Maria Island, I rented out there before I got pregnant, and then we decided it was time to build a house. But I lived on Anna Maria Island in the Holmes Beach neighborhood, and we would have our turtle nest protected. That we would go out, and there were several occasions that we went out when Mote Marine Laboratory was out there releasing the baby turtles, and that was so special, you know. And it's just very sad to see all of that ruined. And then besides that, you're not even beginning to acknowledge the economical damage of all the hotels.
Oh, it's incredible. It's just incredible, and it's just scary because, you know, it doesn't really look like it's going to get any better. And I want to thank you, Lisa, for starting us off with that call. And I'll take another. So thank you.
I'm glad you got another one in. Yes, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm so happy that you got to move up to North Carolina, and I'm so happy you got to go through the Nantahala forest, and at some point you need to drive through the gorge. That is fascinating. And Nantahala, by the way, stands for the land of the noonday sun. That's what it means in Cherokee. I didn't know if you knew that.
I actually did. I read that recently, and they said that's because there's so many trees, the only time you will see the sun is when it's noon.
Exactly, when it's right up above you.
Exactly.
Anyway, so happy for you to be up there. You take care. Okay, have a great evening.
You too,
Namaste.
sister. Namaste.
Right.
Much love. And so that's Lisa from Northport, Florida, who was at one of our Evolutionary Energy Arts family gatherings and became, you know, a lifelong friend. And yeah, she's also lived up in the Georgia mountains, close to Hiawassee, and at some point, you know, she wants to get back to that area as well because she feels that that's where she wants to be and where it's going to be the safest spot as well. But she's basically taking care of family down there. So yes, Lisa does rock, and thank you, Keith, so much for the super chat. It's truly appreciated very much. And so thank you, Keith. And you know what? Gosh, who was it that brought that up? I saw somebody said Chernobyl wormwood, and Chernobyl does mean wormwood in Ukrainian. So, you know, isn't that kind of interesting? Because in the Ukrainian language, wormwood is Chernobyl. And so that is a interesting little coincidence. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of poisoning of the planet. But the planet can bounce back for sure. It really can. It could bounce back. We could change this. But you know, we can't count on any of the governments to do it. They're just not doing it. They've only made things worse, really. That's what we've seen. You know, have we seen truly any real progress? That's a good question, Stack. What does Fukushima mean? And it's probably gonna be something interesting, and that is still ongoing as well. Oh, whoa. Well, Fukushima means basically lucky island. So that's not too accurate, really. Yeah, Fuku means fortune or luck, and Shima is island. So, yeah, that's an interesting one as well. That's definitely a sarcastic one when you look at it that way. And yeah, I totally love the area that Lisa was talking about as well down there. The area north of Hiawassee. And I haven't really looked at that area in Georgia. I've been through, say, Dillard, Georgia, and that area. I mean, the whole area around there is just gorgeous. Where we are, it's beautiful too. It does feel really different. Yeah, perhaps, Mark, perhaps it's bad luck. For sure. And Shannon Ann, so she's in Idaho. Our prepping Texans in Idaho right now. She was in Florida helping out with Michael, and now she's up in Idaho. I'm planning on us going to about 10 o'clock. So if you get a chance, Shannon Ann, do give us an update and call in. Hello, Miss Dragon. Nice to see you. And yeah, so it's interesting when you look at some of these words. So if you take that, I always actually thought the wormwood prophecy, to me, it didn't really hit me as Nibiru. It didn't really, sound the same, because I don't think Nibiru, I mean, if Nibiru crashed into the Earth, it's all over for the Earth. I took wormwood to be something different, perhaps more like an asteroid coming down, or, this makes perfect sense. Wormwood, Chernobyl, radiation, and just the destruction of the planet on that sense, because it does talk about bitterness and everything. So we do have another open line. I know there was a couple of callers that were trying to call during the last call. I can only take one at a time. And I figured give everybody a 10-minute max, and she was just under that. But whatever you guys want to talk about, we could talk about. And, with the whole political thing, it just feels like they want to bring us to civil war. And then, of course, we had that war vet who slaughtered 12 people at a bar. And at a borderline bar, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy. They're gonna say PTSD, but you gotta wonder what triggered it. What really triggered it? Hello, caller. You're on the air. Thanks for joining us. Who do we have with us?
This is Bob in North Carolina.
Hi, and how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sure you've watched the Valentina Zarkova video from 2 days ago.
Yes, yeah, I did watch it. What was your take?
Well, she's talking about 300 years
and
decreased sun activity. And right now, the median solar intensity is 1,364 is the median total solar irradiance. And she's talking about it going down to 1362. And the wolf minimal is 1363, a little above 1363. So she's talking about, I don't know if you've read The Black Death and Abrupt Climate Change.
I've read about it, not that particular book.
No, that particular PDF is required reading for everyone. It's under 100 pages, and the PDF title is The Black Death and Abrupt Climate Change. And this was the wolf minimum from 1285 to 1350. The Black Death was 1345. Anyway, she's talking about total solar irradiance going lower than that, and doing it for 300 years. Now, I've been watching the weather patterns lately, and we have a very strong meridional or north-south weather pattern instead of the east-west that was locked in with the high magnetic, the highly active and magnetic earth fields, where we had a tropical flow, and a temporal flow, and now we're having the jet streams coming all the way down to Louisiana and back up through New York and bringing snow with them. I'm just wondering if these ancient lake beds in Africa and in the South American desert and in the American desert might bloom again long enough to establish cities, hundreds of years, because of this change in the weather flow.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it could be a possibility. I know that, like we were talking about before, the Southwest is supposed to become, much milder, and more and wetter, and possibly could be a much better area for growing as well. So all of everything that we've taken for granted will change in this time for sure. And I think with the technology that we have, if we were just really truly on top of it and not spending so much money where we do, we could definitely adapt and be, a much better place than, in the dark ages, for sure. I mean, we could be doing these massive greenhouse projects. It's just, there's so much we could be doing on a massive scale. Floating cities, basically just nothing but just growing food, out at sea and just anchoring and moving them to the right areas. There's so much that could be done, but instead we're spending, trillions on weaponry and the usual stuff. And then, of course, so much money just on the government itself because of the pure size of the government in this country. So it's just amazing how we can't see the bigger picture and just get together and to actually help each other survive this.
Yeah, just help each other. I don't know if you've ever looked at southwest Arizona and the volcano fields that are just all over along the border. I mean, if you got Google Earth, everybody should just take a minute out and go to southwest Arizona and look. That was recently a highly active volcanic area. And I mean highly active. There are pock marks, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of active volcano craters that have no vegetation. And I just wonder if this last Pacific hurricane that blew up through Arizona and Colorado is the portent of something to come that would fertilize, that would wet that area and allow these volcanic fields to flourish into some kind of forest as they have in the California mountains.
Yeah, that's a good thought, and that would go along with what some of the Native Americans have prophesized about. So maybe that is exactly what's going to happen. It was interesting how the storms were taking that track, and we saw Texas so inundated for so long there. It's very, very interesting. No, it's crazy.
I went to Texas in 2010, and it was so green. I mean, those wildflowers will lay on the desert for years. The seeds will lay there for years, and when they get 2 or 3 inches of rain, it is absolutely beautiful out there. In between, it's kind of brown, but every so often it'll bloom.
Yeah, things are definitely changing. And, as we were saying, in this time period, then Alaska gets to be actually warm relatively. It's something we have to adjust to. Keith Henry says, I still believe aliens are involved. And, I think there's way more technology than we even know. But even with the technology we know of, we could do tremendous things and save so many lives that will probably be lost to starvation and exposure even.
Absolutely. So much of this hyper-military bluster. You know, sanctions have to do with nations trying to keep their food supply within their own borders for their people so that they don't starve. And rather than say we're going to shut off trade, they're going to call it sanctions and reaction to other people's what they perceive or they call as evil actions. But that's not it at all. They're just trying to keep food in their own country. And I think we're doing that with soybeans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't doubt it. And then that's probably part of why we've gone so fracking crazy and building up such a huge amount of oil. So they understand what's coming, and making their preps for it. So thank you so much for that call. It was definitely very interesting and good topic to talk about there.
One last question. Out of the 9 billion people on the planet, do you think that there will be a substantial loss of life due to starvation in the coming 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, unfortunately, probably, and there already is. Like just over in Yemen, because of the wars, 5 million people are, at risk, and we don't really see these wars slowing down. And probably as people scavenge and get, a little bit more aggressive because of dwindling supplies in certain areas. More than likely, yeah, I would have to say more than likely, but I don't think it has to be that way if we could truly work together.
That's what we need to do, is work together. Thank you so much for all you contribute. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Take care and God bless, my friend. And so, yeah, all interesting topics. And I saw a comment, and I'm trying to think, what was it? Something really caught my eye there. Oh, well, yeah, Keith was talking about aliens, and then Nina said, which aliens? With all respect, sir. And so, I mean, from everything I've studied, and I've been studying all this stuff like the nerd I am since I was a little kid. And gotta say that I do believe there's extraterrestrial interdimensional beings that are at the top of this, and that's just what I really do feel. And again, I'll put it both together as extraterrestrial interdimensional. Hello, caller, you are on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hey, Michael, how's it going? It's Mike Oberon. Michael.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, really good. It's so funny, man. Synchronicity. You just started talking about aliens, man. That's what I was calling about.
You were? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to me. I mean, when you look at it and you think about, like, what do we picture the devil looking like? Well, he looks like a Draco, you know?
A lizard, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Like, I was just, I sent you that picture the other day from the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember even their old pictographs like that, they show aliens coming down and helping them out. And
exactly.
If you read, like, I've been going back over the Bible again, actually, and doing other translations, and I'm noticing all these little things, and even without the translations, just read Ezekiel, man. I mentioned that in your earlier video there today about Ezekiel 1. I mean, obviously, it's so obvious he's talking about a spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like gleaming metal in the cloud with flashing lights, and these two beings come down out of this obvious ship. Like, come on. How can people not have seen this before? I don't understand. And with some of the translations I've been doing recently, I've noticed it's like, wow, this is either aliens or, like I said, actually I think last time I called we were talking about this. I mentioned maybe not aliens, but maybe the previous civilization that is just highly technologically advanced.
Exactly. Yeah,
it could be
I agree
it doesn't
there.
necessarily have to be. Even the reptilians, think about it. Dinosaurs, back then, the superior species could have been reptilian.
Oh, most definitely.
Humanoid.
Most
Maybe
definitely.
that's where they come from. Maybe they're not from some other planet. They're from here.
Well, you know what's fascinating, and I had a book that was basically saying that, and then actually I did a video on that subject, and gosh, now it slips my mind what the name of it was, but there was this supposedly legitimate interview with this reptilian female that basically said that they were here before us.
Yeah.
And then we got placed here, and then they went down into the earth, and they're in the earth. They're the Nagas, the ones that were here before us, the ones that were evolving here. But the Draco are something different. But the Draco have kind of taken over since. So when you look at like the Vedas, when you look at the Hindu holy books are really fascinating because, I mean, it's like reading Star Wars. You know,
yeah.
It truly is. It's so fascinating.
The Dogon tribes. Like, you look at the Dogon tribes. For them, beauty is making their skin look like friggin' scales. That's beauty for these people.
Right.
Like, they're trying to make themselves look like lizards, like reptilians.
Right. And
What
so
does that tell you? Because reptilians helped them at some time. Or ruled them, and not necessarily helped them, but, you know, they were their leaders, or, I don't know, guardians. What do you want to call it? What is that? I can't remember what the book called them. The book about Eden. Actually, you recommended the book. And I read it.
William Bramley's book, The Gods of Eden.
Yeah, Bramley. Oh, wow, what a great book. Thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, that was such an easy read. I love that. I think I read it in one sitting.
Oh, yeah, I read it in two, actually, because, yeah, I'm pretty busy usually around here. But, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think we'll realize that, you know, we've kind of, you know, you got some people that say, like Neo is saying, you know, aliens are demons. And then, you know, I mean,
Some
there's
of them probably are.
some, but not all. There's yeah.
Like, these guys probably came down and they were bad. They did some bad things, and they looked reptilian. They looked like these demons, or what we're told demons look like. So that's why we're told demons look like that, because these creatures came down and did some bad things. But you know what? These same creatures went to a different spot on the planet and helped them out. So how do we know which are bad and which are good? Like, this is going to take major discernment, man. Like, you really need to meditate and be in touch with the spirit for this, man. Because I know there's something coming. Even like Naughty Beaver's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. Something's coming.
Oh, I think we're going to be blown away when we actually get what's coming. And, you know,
I think that's why everybody's catching all this right now. Like, you look at Jeff Doherty and Global Witness and all these other channels, and everybody's talking about all these different translations, different things, and they're finding out, and everybody's coming to the same conclusions all at the same time. Can you say 100 monkeys?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I mean, I've had like firsthand experience. And so I know some people would think it's kind of crazy, but I've had firsthand experience with both types of things, and there's differences. So, you know, like when I was 7, I basically had an experience with this small entity twice, and didn't look like a gray, but it was the size of a gray. It was probably only about 3 feet tall. It looks like an eben, if you've ever seen some photos of ebens. And so it runs in my family, though, because my kids have had it too. My father had it too. So, I mean, we've had, you know, these kind of like, I don't remember an abduction thing, but I do remember basically being under paralysis and seeing these things. Although the last time I saw this tall gray, which I had, you know, I mean, that was clear as day. I totally saw it. But I've also seen these entities that are complete black, and they have glowing red eyes, and now those are demonic. And yeah, I've seen those on 3 different occasions.
There's these white ones. I wouldn't call them spirits, but but it's funny. Most people would say, "Oh yeah, you're losing your friggin' mind. You're starting to see things." But I think it's because we're shifting. There's little things that it is kind of like spirits, but I don't think it's spirits. I think it's other beings that are on another wavelength, frequency. I don't know how you want to. English is awful, man. I've been saying that a lot lately. This language thing is driving me crazy. I can't say what I want to say.
No, I understand.
You know, like that. Oh man, but yeah, they're like spiritual creatures that I think a lot of people are seeing. A lot of people see the little glowing lights they call divas.
Yep.
That's been years that people have seen stuff like that. I've seen those for a long time. But yeah, and I saw the dark ones when I was younger. I mentioned it, and it's funny because I see them, and it's like as soon as they look at me and notice that I can see them, they fade away. It's like they're afraid of me seeing them.
Yeah, there's some that are like that.
And I can see them, but they fade away. The white ones, not so much.
You know, there's so many different types of beings. There really is, and that's why it's like, you know, I've had experiences with so many different types, and some feel more kind of like an animal, you know, just kind of innocent, you know, and not anything negative at all. And like the black one with the glowing red eyes, I woke up and my son had been getting plagued by nightmares for a while. So he was sleeping with me, and I woke up and it was right over him, and it was doing something to his energy field. And so, yeah, I wasn't scared. I got so pissed. I just, you know, made right towards it and said, "Get the bleep out." And it just looked at me and it hissed, and it took right off.
Probably happening. Your kid was probably having problems at school with another kid, and he was feeling negative. When kids feel that way, kids are so susceptible, and so are we when we start to get recontacted with the spirit. Because kids are contacted with the spirit, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you're more susceptible, and I'll bet you any money. Sorry to cut you off, Mike, but I was thinking that, and I'll bet you any money that's what was going on. Something negative was there, and it attracted this dark thing. Because that's what was going on with me when I started seeing them when I was younger. I know there was a lot of negative crap going on because I was seeing things.
Right.
And I was too young to realize, you don't tell people this. So people were like, "Oh, okay, he's the freak. He's the weird one. He's the little faggot. He's the, you know, like all this." Sorry, excuse my language.
Well, you know, it's, I mean, I got so many things I have had experienced, and many people have, and that's the thing. When we start talking about it, you start to realize, oh, hey, you know, it's not just me. So many people have seen the exact same things time and time again, and
it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild, and I'll share with you when I was 19, and in my first apartment by myself, something came directly on top of me, and at that time I was completely, basically a born-again Christian, and you know, it got right on top of me. It was pure black, and I couldn't move, so it was your case of quote-unquote sleep paralysis, but I was totally awake. And so, you know, I thought in my mind, you know, help me Jesus, and you know, like, get away from me Satan type stuff, and it took a while, but it slowly went away. But it was a struggle. It was a real struggle to get this thing off of me. And then over the years, like in my mid-20s, I started to delve into other things, and I learned a ritual that I've done all the time, and many people will probably have heard of it before. It's the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which, you know, is quote-unquote occult, but you know what? It's really just basically...
Occult just means hidden, man. It just means other people don't realize it or don't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. And what it does is it just calls on the power of the archangels, you know, to basically protect you. And since doing that...
But the pentagram is its nice protection.
Exactly, you know, and you draw down the light of source into you. And, you know, and since doing that, I've been able to go in, and I worked with a paranormal investigative group and clear houses and get rid of, entities that were disrupting people's lives, kind of like negative parasitic type ones. And it worked every time, and it did not have any trouble ever, no struggle getting rid of something that was dark since doing that.
No, even before I, whatever you want to call it, felt the spirit or whatever, I was kind of into Wicca, witchcraft.
Sure.
I don't know what you want to call it, but I guess witchcraft, white witchcraft is what I called it anyways. Well, more gray. I don't know. I didn't really differentiate. I didn't ever do anything evil or blood magic or anything like that. So white magic. But it worked, man. I'm telling you. I had protections on my apartment, and I had people come into my apartment, and I could tell as soon as they walked in the door, it's like, oh, this person probably shouldn't be here. And honestly, that person left within seconds. But it's because they didn't have good intent.
Exactly.
And I had protections on the place.
Yep.
That's just a small, that's all that ever happened was little things like that. But that's all you need to see. You don't need, big things don't happen. Big things only happen if other big things happen. You know what I mean? Especially with the spiritual or whatever. Everybody's always saying, oh, well, yeah, I've never seen a miracle. You know what? That's because nothing big has ever happened around you that a miracle has needed to happen.
Well, that's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing so much, Mick. It's always wonderful to hear you, brother.
Yeah, you too, bro. Yeah, I should let you go. Yeah, let somebody else chat for tonight. But, yeah, nice talking to you. Say hi to Lisa and Zeke. And we'll talk to you soon, bro. Take care.
Sounds great. Take care, bro.
Yeah, cheers.
So that's our Mick Oberon, and if you get a chance to check out his YouTube, he's actually a really good musician and very enjoyable and a great person. So yeah, that's one of the things, and thank you guys for the super chat. Thank you, Robert, for the super chat, and thank you, Gordon. The reason I guess I get so, I don't want to say frustrated at times, but it's just that I've experienced different things firsthand, and firsthand experienced different things. So like the dark, you know what they're like? They're like a black hole. These entities are like a black hole. They're shimmering black energy that you can't see through. Often with glowing red eyes, and they actually hiss kind of like a snake. Those things are what I would say is demonic. They're just nasty, and I've seen them 3 separate occasions, and that's demonic. I don't doubt it. And yet, you can't get rid of them. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now? I guess we lost them really quick. If they want to call back, it's open right now. So those were definitely demonic. But yet, the little guy that I saw and then that tall gray, I didn't feel like they were demonic. I didn't feel like I don't think they had my best interest in mind, but I don't think they wanted to hurt me either. It felt like, like a doctor would view a patient almost, but not really necessarily with a loving vibe, just more like a clinician, somebody that doesn't really care so much. They're indifferent is what it felt like, indifferent energy. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hi, this is Willow.
Hi, Willow. How are you?
I'm doing good. I enjoyed the last conversation. And I want to tell you, I've been watching the show for quite a few years, and I really enjoy it. Thinking seriously about coming to the event in Denver, coming up soon. And I think you're a part of that, right?
Probably not going to be able to make it, just because of other obligations. I was invited to go, but not this time. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, but it does sound like it's going to be great.
love all the things you talk about. I study and have worked with a number of things all throughout the years, and you know, one of the I'm in that age group of people that ended up having contact between the ages of 6 and 9, somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s. I ran into a bunch of people through MUFON in the 80s that all seem to have very similar experiences in their childhood, and so I've kind of been familiar with interactions with rapes, demonic, dark, whatever, spirit did house clearing in the 80s, and I still do a lot of different stuff. You know, I prefer to call what I do shamanic work, but I have had experiences in my neighborhood, and a number of my neighbors have also had experiences with seeing the round craft, and large ones, large enough to put a couple of front end loaders on either side of this craft.
Wow.
And one night out here about 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to see 3 of them up pretty close. And so I just thought I would share the experience with you.
What did they look like?
Well, it was the classic aliens, space invader type craft. You know, the whitish gray, more white. You know, like a reflective light metal, and it was nighttime. It was 3 a.m. I was coming home. I live out in the country. I saw lights bobbing on the hills on either side of the road where I was at. And I took a different turn on the way home than I normally do, so I could go up to the top of the ridge and see if I could see what I was seeing from the road down below. And just as I got to the peak of the top of the ridge, I had 2 craft come up on either side of me to the top of the ridge where I was at. And a third one joined them shortly. They were close enough to me. I would say it was probably 5 or 6 stories up from a building, you know. And I could actually see an insignia on the bottom of the craft that looked like a combination, and I'm just going to say this one time because I thought it was crazy at the time. It still seems crazy now. Doesn't surprise me at all, considering the interactions of what happened at the end of World War II with Antarctica and the craft that came out of Antarctica, because what I saw was a combination U.S. Nazi sticker.
I wouldn't doubt it. And
it just...
What did you say the symbol was on it? You saw an insignia?
It was the Nazi insignia with the United States flag about behind it.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was on the inside of the circle area, on the inside of the craft. And, you know, it's like I said, I've had experience with various and sundry things over the years. And so when I saw them above me, first thing I did was note that my car didn't die. My radio was still working. The hair wasn't standing up on my head. And I parked my car and I looked up and nothing happened. So I left the car running and I got out of my car like I was going to go inspect my tires, like I hadn't even noticed that they were there. And I walked around to all the tires and looked at the tires, kept looking at them, the lights kept flashing, they went up and down. And I stood up and I waved to them and they all flew away.
Wow.
It was like they didn't even think I could see them. And I see things that other people don't see sometimes, but usually I know the difference between when I'm in one world and when I'm in the other. And so I think I saw them on a very physical level, and they were, like I said, 5 stories above me, big enough to have a front end loader on either side of each vehicle. Like I've seen them in a certain area. So a few months later, I looked up that area on the map and noticed that they're doing quarry mining in the middle of this 52,000-acre wildlife reserve that's out behind my house. And I haven't been able to get out there yet to see what's going on, or, but I've talked to other people who live in the neighborhood who've been hearing booming and big, huge trucks going in and out, blah, blah, blah. And so my personal outtake on this, it is probably a private military corporation, something going on that we're not supposed to know about, that these are either there to scare us away or else they're there to be able to haul stuff in and out of the middle of this wildlife reserve without anybody noticing.
And where are you again?
I'm northwest of Austin.
Northwest of Austin, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've been right there with you guys, taking pictures of all kinds of strange things in the sky. I've actually sent a couple to you one morning from catching a binary object behind the sun when it was coming up in the morning. I had 3 different pictures of it. And yes, I've been witness to a lot because I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, kind of. It's getting more populous all the time with all the people moving into California.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was very, very interesting, experience. Unfortunately, my phone was dead, so I didn't get a chance to take pictures of them while they were up there. And I had all kinds of strange interactions for the next couple of years that, anybody on the far side of being a conspiracy theorists would say were interference from race and mind control and whatever, and so I pretty much didn't talk about it too much. This is kind of the first time I've talked about it publicly, other than to a few friends.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was very interesting, and I hope you give a call in again and share more.
I would love to. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care now. Namaste.
Have a good night.
You too. So that was really some interesting stuff there too, and I know we had about 3 or 4 callers in that, and trying to give everybody like 10 minutes max. Yeah, give a call in, share your stories if we're going to go on this. There's so much going on. So many people have had these type of experiences. Just so many. And yes, we are looking at a 6.8 quake somewhere. I wonder if it's USGS and it might actually be bigger. Let's see. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, you don't see them up that way all the time. So this is above Iceland, 6.8, showing at shallow 10 kilometers. That's definitely an interesting one. I cannot recall one that big up in that way. Wonder if anything is going to be happening volcanic up there. And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hey, brother, this is Planet XY. My name's Quinn. How you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing, Quinn?
I'm doing wonderful. Hey, man, look, I'll keep this brief. Mr. MBB dropped a story about, 19 million trees that were dropped at their bases?
Yeah.
In Italy or whatever? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was part of, like, all those storms.
Dude, what the heck is your take on this, man?
Well, basically, it's, everything is getting stronger. Whether that was a microburst, I'm not sure. I think he was thinking it was something like the Tunguska event. But I was just wondering if it was a huge microburst. It's about 1/5 the size of the, I think that's what it was, wasn't it? About 1/5 the size of Tunguska.
Yeah, that's what he said. But, man, I don't know, dude. I mean, they snapped at their bases.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible.
Look, man, I'm a long-time listener here, and I believe what you say, but, man, what is your take on this? This is, dude, it's cray-cray, man.
It is, and that's part of the whole thing about, like, if we get really deep in, how safe is it going to be above ground? And, because I've heard some people say we could end up with, 200 to 300 mile an hour winds, from storms like this. And so obviously seriously damaging. That's why I've talked about, like, in videos past, and I was planning on doing another video on earthbag homes, especially in a dome shape, because, domes are the strongest shape to have your house in. And then and then also with the thought of, if you could get yourself into a position where you could kind of build it into a hill and be in a protected area, because I think what we saw there, that's going to be a lot more common, and so it's pretty scary.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well received. Yes, sir. Like I said, man, I don't know, dude. I mean, it kind of blew me away. I don't want to drop names like that, but damn, he had a really good, compelling video, and all part of me wanted you to see that. And I'm like going, damn, I got to call in,
Oh yeah, I did see it, and I love his stuff. So he's one of the ones I get all notifications for. He does a really good job. He has for years, it's
Dude,
scary.
Let me ask you a question: Is this a do weapon? Is this? I mean, honestly, they snapped at their bases, man.
Well,
what does that?
That's the big question, because we were just talking about that, and that's why, part of me, like, looks at the whole grand solar minimum, and whereas before maybe I was a lot more on board with it, not saying I'm not on board with it, but I'm just more and more certain that, we have tremendous technology, and I do think that there's, just unheard of technology that we have that they don't let us know about. So could they be doing this? Could people be doing all of this? Yeah, and I don't, there's part of me that thinks maybe all of this is actually being manufactured, all of it, even on down to the figures we get from, about the sun and the amount of output and everything too. I kind of view it all skeptically. Not quite to the point where I'm going to say we're, in a flat Earth and this is really all a spaceship, and, the Earth itself is nothing but a big mothership and we're all being, like, watched like the Truman Show. But at times it almost feels like that,
You know what, though? I kind of believe you in a way, yeah. I mean, in a way, yeah, sure. But I mean, RFB, man, he sets it straight. But at the same time, man, I hate the fucking guy. Sorry. I hate the guy. But at the same time, he really spits some really good things. But at the same time, I listen to you, Dabu, Mr. RMBB. But at the same time, I mean, man, these trees snapped at their bases. Man, those were thick trees, and they were just crinkled like a pretzel.
Yeah, they were.
It blows my mind, brother.
It is.
Blows my mind, brother.
It is, and it's just getting started. Apparently it's just getting started. I would love to, see everything normalize again, but I don't think it's going to.
Brother, I think we're way past that. I think we're done. I think, where we live, where we are, how we are, when we are, I think we're done with that,
Yeah, I agree. It's a new world.
Well, I tell you what, man, let me let you go, man. Take some other callers, but I appreciate your time, sir.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Call back again.
Yes, sir. Will do. I have you locked and loaded.
Thanks. Take care now.
All right, brother.
All right, brother. Namaste, brother. So that was a good call and a really good point. And, Mary Kingsley says we don't want to plug into the fear, but at the same time, you got to be aware of what's going on around us. So it's a real delicate line to thread. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hello, my name is Michelle.
Hi, and what would you like to... Doing good.
How are you? I was just listening to your show, and I caught like the last 45 minutes of it or so. I feel like there's a lot going on in the world that I just want to comment on, but I think it's actually all tied in together.
Can you turn down the volume in the back there? It's kind of drowning you out a little.
Oh, sure. One second. All right, you're going to get a little quieter.
Okay, there we go. Cool.
Okay, so I I just want to comment on some of it. Because I'm actually a Reiki practitioner as well. I'm an energy healer, psychic, medium. I don't have a bunch of abilities that I was actually born with. So there's a lot going on in the world, yes, but I think that's all tied together with the ascension. I don't know how much you believe that, but a lot of the environmental changes that are going on at the moment, you do have a magnetic pole shift. You do have the entire solar system traveling into the photon belt, or through the photon belt, and into a higher density area of the universe, or higher density of consciousness. So, to me personally, I've seen a lot more going on these days than I ever did, as far as other beings. You could call it aliens or some life forms. Had some conversations and channeling with them, and was basically told that there's a lot going on with the government. There's a lot going on with money and currency and issues with China and Russia, of course, and you have environmental changes that are partly caused by magnetic pole shifts and everything that's cyclical. But you also have our entire us as a people basically on a planet that's shifting in density of consciousness. So a lot of the environmental changes that are happening are actually part of that shift in density. That's causing me to kind of go off kilter a little bit. I didn't know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, that is what I think, and I think that a lot of what's going on is basically because they don't want to lose their food source, their slaves, however you want to word it. They view humans, I think, as an asset and want to keep us in a lower vibrational density, and it's pretty obvious. When you look at it. It's like it's just so obvious. I was watching regular TV for the first time in like maybe 10 years, watching a series called The Event that a friend said, you got to check out The Event. And I'm looking at the commercials that they're hammering in, and they just hammer them into you. And it's all basically the drugs, the pharmaceuticals. They try to pull us down in so many ways energetically, especially in this time, and that's why they're moving so much harder. Because we are ascending, and I do remember, back in the 80s, late 80s, hearing about going into the photon belt, and at that time I thought it was kind of woo-woo, but everything that I heard back in those days is basically transpired. And so, as I was sharing before, there was a lot of channeled work back in the late 80s, early 90s that has been incredibly accurate, just so accurate, it's mind-blowing.
The Law of One was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
One channeling.
Yeah.
Like TV One would be great.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. Law 1 is great stuff. It's very good stuff. And, I'm in agreement with you. And so that's why I almost look at it like they know that they're going to lose a whole bunch of their assets. And so they don't really care whether they destroy them or lose them to ascension. They're trying to keep as much as possible, but at the same time.
I agree.
No, go ahead. What you're saying.
No, I totally agree with you on that they are trying to hold on to the last bits of like that old reality that we're pretty much living at this point. But I feel like now when you have like the deep state issues and the cabal, I feel like there's so many different groups that are arguing over the politics of it, thinking that it's a left or a right type of mentality, when in reality, like the deep state comes on both sides, it's behind our shadow government. There's so many different aspects, and then it's really hard to speak to people because you have the spiritual aspect of all this, and plus also you have the political. I mean, I wasn't so wound up as far as like, left versus right and white versus black, and they give you all these different parallels for you all to fight each other, and you're stuck in that type of negativity, which is I think is part of the plan, at least in my opinion. But you get stuck in that negativity constantly because you're being put up against. I don't watch all the media, and I've watched like one 10-minute session on the one news channel and then a 10-minute session on a different news channel, And the book instead is completely different. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I think that they're constantly trying to put people get a percentage that way. You do lower your vibration, and you're constantly stuck in that same 3D reality of arguing and having the illusion of competition, the illusion of separatism and individuality, instead of really seeing yourself as one collective consciousness. And I think that right now, a lot of what's going on is just playing on that in the media, using the media to play on that aspect of it, and using other source of news and social media to kind of play on that, and you get wrapped up into all these other events that are happening that are being, whether you say orchestrated or not, you know, and terrorist attacks and everything else, you get wrapped up in it and you polarize more towards one side or the other, and you get wrapped up into the whole drama of this, you know, 3D existence, instead of concentrating on ascending yourself and growing in consciousness and understanding. So I feel like a lot of it is them trying to hold people down and hold people in this concept, to hold people in this 3D reality. But at the same time, you have a lot of things that really happen, and you can't really get scared. I think that there's like a level of faith and understanding that there's what is about to happen. Like, I know me personally, I've had a lot of visions and a lot of premonitions as far as like things that are going to happen, but my fear doesn't come along with it because I understand what my role is and my mission is and what's going forward and what I'm supposed to be doing. But I think that right now a lot of people are just kind of grasping at all. They're losing their religion. They don't know what to believe anymore in politics. They don't know what to believe anymore as far as their reality is concerned. And then, you know, with all this false information out there, people are grasping at straws, particularly one particular topic, and becoming a follower of that, you know, that belief instead of looking at it from a holistic perspective, you know?
I totally agree with everything you're saying. I think you're dead on, you know, and it's being done kind of on purpose in order to keep us basically at each other's throats, keep us down in lower vibrations. When we see these like shooting events like we saw again today, you know, I think a lot of these people are completely being MK Ultra'd, you know, I think they're being mind controlled.
And there's a lot of that ELF technology. And I went online, I was showing people that all the time. You know, you look into, what's that, if you go into Congress.gov and you go into HR 2977, you go into section 7 of that, and it explains right there on the Congress website everything that they're doing, the kind of tectonic weapon that they have, you know, psychotronic weapon that they had, ELF, they go into chemtrails. Right there in the text on their website that they have these weapons and that they are, you know, that they do use them on part of the population or target the population. So if you haven't read that yet, that's a really good thing to see, because they basically just admit everything right there on their own website. And there's other bills that try to get introduced and passed, but they also have a lot of the same wording if you do some research into it. But I mean, it's just completely crooked. But I think it's really important with everything going on because we have a lot more. You know, there's the increase in space volcanoes, right? The currency issues. But you know, on a deeper player, just something smart. You know what I mean? If you're a woman or you're a man, if you're by yourself, what are you going to do? Run out of the house and try to get some food and water and something goes down? And so it's coming from all these different angles. So it's smart to have like a storage and something to be a prep, but at the same time, be like meditate and try to like actually like understand your role in what's happening in the future and not get so driven by fear that you're only concentrating on the negative and everything's going to fall apart and everything, you know, the world's going to end and everything else, you know, when, you know, right now is the time where we're supposed to be manifesting the reality that we do want to see. If you understand your body of energy and that in housing, basically a shell, then you understand that you are capable of creating this reality and creating this timeline, and that you, as a whole, all of us as a collective are able to manifest the reality that we want to see, instead of worrying and getting dragged into the, you know, the bullshit that they're, excuse my language, that they're trying to feed us.
Yeah, you know, and Jason says not a conspiracy anymore, and I guess technically it's not, because I think so many of us have woken up. And we recognize that, and thank you so much for the call. It was really, you know, dead on. I really appreciate you sharing.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, namaste.
Have a great night.
You too. Yeah, good topics, and she talks about HR 2977. I know I've done a video on that in the past too. These things are real, you know, and I was just thinking about this again today. It's like, here we are all talking about it. We know what's going on. Why can't we get anybody to do anything about it? You know, why can't we demand, you know, let us know exactly what you're spraying us with. Why can't we just simply demand that? You know, I was even thinking, like, where do you start to put together some sort of petition to go to your local, you know, congressmen, senators, and demand to know what is being sprayed on us, you know, and over our heads? Because I'll share with you that, again, one of my sources now, you know, has said basically, you know, her spouse was government. And he said that, you know, if the American people knew what they were spraying on their heads every day, we would have such an uprising. But, you know, why don't we demand it? Because we know all this, you know, we know about all this. And, yeah, we got to get kind of active in that sense, you know, and they are, you know, spraying lithium, barium, aluminum, and all that stuff, which is kind of dumbing us down in some ways. And then the 5G, you know, one of my other clients who's a wonderful person, and she's out there in Texas, and she realized after the 5G video, that's what's bothering her, and she's putting her house up for sale and moving into the woods. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Fuck.
Well, that was a real intelligent one, Mr. Craig Fry. So Mr. Craig Fry calls up from Camarillo, California, just to say that. Not sure if he's trying to get a date, perhaps. You know, but I don't think that's a good way to get a date. Do you guys think that's a good way to get a date? I don't know. Well, if it is, if that's what he's trying, Mr. Craig Fry, you know, you're gonna be having a lot of lonely nights. I hate to tell you that. But yes, much love to him, says Brittany and Gordon, and, you know, that's the way we do it. So, a lot of things we're touching on tonight. It's definitely been very, very interesting, to say the least. And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hi, my name is Tony.
Hey, Tony. What would you like to talk about?
Just calling to see if you're aware of this. There's it's pretty much around my whole area and a couple of towns down that I've seen this. It's a circle with an X on it, and it seems to when the sun is out, it reflects off of a glass or a window pane and creates a perfect circle with a cross on it. Seen anything like that?
No, are you saying it's being sprayed in the sky, or?
No, it's a reflection or some type of reflection from the sun, and basically they're always in pairs. It's about maybe 30-40 inches round, a perfect circle with a cross, and it's been appearing on random homes. So I've sent you 3 of the pictures. I've got maybe 25-30 different towns, different homes, and the same exact symbol. Just wondering, up in your area, do you see anything like that?
I haven't noticed, but I'm going to keep my eyes open now. That sounds ominous.
Are you able to receive text imaging on that number?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? I sent you 3 of them. I don't know if you've gotten them yet.
I'm going through basically a ton of photos right now for the next video. But I'll...
The first one appeared in 2015 at night.
Uh-huh.
The moon does it too. It's the same symbol over and over again. And the one at night, it's glowing, but you can't take a bit. I tried to do video and picture. You can't really. It won't come up, but you can see it with the naked eye. But the sun, if you see the image, it's really bright. And the one thing that in '97, I read something that said it was affiliated with a Noah story, that when that time came, that there would be this circle. This is in '97. It would appear in random homes, not meaning it was supposed to be a global thing, but not meaning that home would have any issues. It was a global event, the random homes would have circles with crosses in them, signifying this change or this type of event. So, you know, and then that was in '97. In 2015, I found the first one, and there's quite a bit of them now, just randomly everywhere.
So are you saying, do you think this is maybe like going back to Passover, and marking homes for?
Yeah. The story that I read, I was able to read it because it was in my language, but it's mentioning that's why the confusion. I don't understand from reading the original document. It's clearly stated that the Noah story somehow was twisted and manipulated. That it was supposed to happen, not that it happened, but the one it referred to was, well, in our time, 10,000 years ago, but they were talking about the one that would be coming. So the Noah story that we're privy to, or that we're taught, has been, I guess, falsified, stating that it's already happened, when the way it's described, it never happened yet. But when that time came, you'd see these random circles with crosses on them in pairs of 2. So I'm thinking maybe they took the 2 and 2 of every animal, maybe, because every one of these circles are in pairs. And they're basically just random everywhere, just like it said. It'd be random on random. It didn't say on trees or on the ground. It said on homes. And that was in '97. And in 2015, I saw the first one. So, I just thought I'd share that with you. Maybe just looking at the photos, if you can post them, I'm sure they're out there, because the 5-6 towns I travel through, I've seen them in every town. It's just random. It's really odd. You'll see this perfect circle and this cross through it.
Yeah, I have it up on the screen now. I got your pictures.
And you see that symbol? The moon does that too, but not always. That's rare. I've seen it twice already. And I've got pictures of that too. It's really odd. But the one in 2015, that same symbol comes out only at night with or without the sun or the moon. It's just there all the time. And that's the one I'm just trying to figure out. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's light being reflected onto the house like that. It's odd. It's a really interesting thing. It's kind of like a alien head shape, almost,
Yeah, so but how does the window reflect? And some of these halos almost look like that. When you look at some of the online images that people have taken, there's this giant circle in the sky, and if you really look closely, it's like a cross in the middle, and then this giant circle around it all. And it's doing it in the sky. It's doing it on random homes, and I just thought I'd share that with you. Maybe now you can, if you see something like that.
That's really bizarre. That's really curious, and I could see that it's being, basically the light's bringing it down to manifesting there. Yeah, that is so strange. Where were these pictures taken?
I'm in Illinois, so in Libertyville, Morton Grove, Buffalo Grove. I mean, it's about 5 towns, and I've seen them everywhere. And when I first saw the first one, that was in 2015. It was 2 years later. Then it's like it's everywhere now. And I never remember seeing an image like that. But I do remember in '97, reading that Noah's tale, because they did find 2 documents of it, that there would be the time when that time would come that the world would start to change and all these events. And I can tell you in detail, I don't want to take up too much time, but the pattern of the world, where it's heading, the environment, the way it's changing, was all described, how it would start slowly, but it would come to a point where it would dramatically increase. So it would be a small transition into it, and then a dramatic, and it actually describes, a lot of people say Planet X. What they're referring to is a long time ago. And this is a little bit, it's similar to it, that something is affecting, but it's not exactly what that tale, that was so long ago. But it's similar to that. It does have something to do out, in our solar system and then beyond it. But it's described in such a way where it's kind of unfolding now. It's all coming together and kind of making sense. So we're probably only maybe 5-10% into it, and this is how bad it's getting now. Can you imagine?
All right.
More into it?
Do you know what this just reminded me of? This just reminded me of that movie with Mel Gibson and with the crop circle thing. You know?
Oh, right, yeah. the crop circle thing too, yeah, and the symbolism involved in that also, and that's throughout the whole world.
Right. Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah.
you can't explain it. You need an army of people just working on that project, and it's still not easy to explain. But I just thought I'd share it. I don't want to take too much of the time.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, it was super interesting, and that's something that
If you ever want to see that symbol at night, it's hard to explain, but no sun, no moon. That symbol is neon light glowing. That same symbol, and it just so happens to be on my house. That was the first one in 2015. I
Wow.
woke up to go to work. It was late still. The sun wasn't out yet, and it was there. And I just stopped in my driveway, and I was like shocked. You know, just stood there for a while looking at it, and kind of simmered down. 2 years later, I was shocked again to see it, you know, far off from where I live in another town, and the same symbol. So I just thought I'd share that and see what you think of it.
Well, you got me super curious, and it's something else to research, and it feels really kind of ominous in some ways. You
I
know?
also have a photo I took years ago that was, I think it was in California. It was a news chopper. Remember that half-shaped moon star? It looked like something was eclipsing some type of star far away, but it was pretty good size, star.
Please send me the photo if you have it. I'd be curious
That
to
one,
see it.
I couldn't. I'd probably email it to you before I send it on the phone. But there's something in there I think you'd find extremely interesting. I haven't shared that with anybody yet. That was at 5:30, and it was the same time that news chopper, and it was on. They posted it online a couple of times. They were saying something eclipsed it, but there's something in that eclipse. But I think that's something I think you'd really be interested in. But I'd have to email that to you.
Sure. You can email it to evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Well, I don't want to take too much time, so
Well, I appreciate
I'll let you
it.
get on with the show. All right, thanks. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was actually pretty interesting, pretty fascinating. What does everybody make of that? That's really weird. Yeah, reflection, but you know, it's like, why are we seeing this reflection in multiple places if that's the case? I don't know. Yeah, artificial light from the sky. Maybe it is from, is it coming from the sun simulator or something like that? Is it coming from a ship up in the sky? Some sort of huge satellite or something? I don't know. Just really, really curious on that. So that's some pretty interesting stuff. You know, artificial, yeah. Yeah, when I look at that, I'm starting to think more on lines of somebody sending signals to somebody else. You know, is it just like the movie Signs? And I think it was Sherry that said, yeah, that's the movie I was thinking of. You know, is it, okay, is it like, you know, I don't know. Don't, you know, pass over the people in this house or what have you. You know, you think about some of those things. You think about Passover, you know, and what was that mark exactly? You know, that what really happened there anyway? It's just all interesting stuff. It's fascinating. So lots of stuff. Really good, interesting calls today, guys. Lots of interesting stuff. A lot of things happening out there. Space Force, yes. You know, if they're telling us that we need a Space Force, you know that means we already have one, of course. That's kind of the way it seems to work. So lots of stuff, interesting stuff going on. So we do have an open line. So anybody want to give a call in? Again, 614-400-5835. It's really a very, very more magical world than we're led to believe. It really is crazy. I'd love to be able to, but I'm going to be in, and Kai's asking if I can make it out to Gordon's for 11/29. I'll probably still be in Connecticut at that point. I'm going to visit my my mother, my sister, family, see my new nephew, and here we go. Here's the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only.
It is a magical world, Michael.
It is.
Super magical.
It is, Gordon, and it's so good to hear your voice.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for bringing us together tonight. I think it was super needed. Everybody in that chat room is feeling it tonight. You guys are so much loved. You guys are so loved.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and it's beautiful to see, so many family members growing stronger and stronger together. And thanks, Kai Guy, for congratulations to my new nephew. And yeah, my mom's like 90, so I want to go visit her, and probably won't be able to make it out that way for that date, but you never know.
Did you know Derek Bros did an update for The Witness in the Desert, and there was already a film crew, a professional film crew, and he keeps using the word bow as a hint as to who is out there. Now, Derek Bros is a longtime Paramount executive, and he left everything to follow this witnessing that he's doing. So he knows what's going on, and they are filming what's possibly an alien landing. Okay, this is like they're there without us knowing about it at the same day, November 29th, in the same place, the Flying Eagle Butte in Monument Valley.
Wow. That's pretty. So Derek was a Paramount executive.
Correct.
I'm gonna have to watch more of his videos. I think I've only actually seen one, believe it or not. But yeah, definitely got to check it out more. I think we're getting very close, and then
Yes, sir.
some people are going to not really believe, that there is this ET presence. But yeah, I mean, reality is really, when you think about it, it's kind of, in one sense, as long as everybody's moving forward peacefully, it's pretty damn cool,
There's nothing to fear out there. If it's real, if whoever's coming into our system, which is quarantine, Michael, nobody comes in here without God's approval, without the Big Bang. This is not something that you get to do without having permission first. That's our family. That's our family, and I get it. We can fake the moon landing, so we can fake an alien invasion. I get it. A great deception. And you know what? You see them spaceships come out of the sky, Michael, remember? I'll be the first one on there, dude, saying, get me the fuck out of here, right?
I know. Yeah, it's pretty.
I want my wings back.
It's pretty wild, and when you just have to think about it. I always think that the Great Deception started, a long time ago. Perhaps back in 325 AD. For example, because we've been basically taught to think of ourselves as being worthless and basically having no power and being so limited, but the reality is very different, and we're coming into our own and starting to realize exactly what and who we are.
Yeah, you said it hit the nail on the head so many times when you say you could take everything we've done and reverse it and be more correct.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah, that, man. Is that the Nicene, the meeting of the Nicene, 325 AD?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, exactly. And the Council of Nicaea, and that's when they burned so many books, burned, most of the books that were out there in circulation. They only took like not even a fifth of what was out there, probably more like a tenth or less. And then also things are twisted, so that it's been all done to maintain their power and their control. So there's always truth, and then intermingled with just enough deception and lies to keep the real reality away from us.
It's quite interesting how we love a good mystery, and how boring would it be, Michael, if everything was just lots of puff magic balls all the time and there wasn't a single lick of mystery left?
Oh, yeah, there's so much mystery, and
love
there's
it.
so much magic, you know, and as kids, we kind of see the magic, and then, you know, it's kind of drummed out of us, and then, you know, as you start to go on this path, you start to realize, wow, you know, as kids, and we're viewing the world as being magical, that was actually the true reality.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So much magic left in this world. I super love you guys. My wife's on the other line. I'm gonna go hang out with a lovely angel star tonight and just hold you guys all along with us. Super light. You guys shine bright and it starts the world on fire.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Much love.
Namaste.
Namaste. So that was our own Gordon. Beautiful soul. He is just pure love. Gordon is magnificent, just pure love. And yeah, ultimately there's nothing to fear, you know, because again, you know, in my point of view, and just, oh, and I do have, I do believe I'm going to be doing that interview with a lady that has died 3 times, and one time was clinically dead for 38 minutes, I believe it is. It was over 30 minutes. And, you know, I'm looking forward to sharing what she experienced with you guys too, because I've known several people that have been on the other side, and they all say basically the same thing. There's nothing to be afraid of on the other side. You know, there's beauty there, and there's beauty here. We just can't always see it. And it's the bigger picture. You know, because that side's really home. This is just, you're jumping in a meat suit to basically live in a 3D reality. It's almost like we're playing a game on this side. And it's how do we act and who do we want to be on this side. So thank you, Jason. And thank you, Gordon. And thank you, everybody. So we do have an open line again. Anybody else wants to give a call? Yeah, this is school, Divine Sight. I've always viewed it as this is school, and it's kind of, you know, it's a test. We're here to test ourselves and see, you know, how are we going to react, and especially in these times. So everybody that's here in these times, you know, it's a brave bunch, and it's also a bunch that's up for a challenge, because these are challenging times, but we can also come together in these times and end up going back to a golden age that we've heard of before. And so it's pretty fascinating, but you know, just living in this area now, it's just amazing to talk to the locals. And you know, it's so different when you live in a city and then you come out here, you know, into the mountains where locals, most of them, are still experiencing the magic of the world around them every day. They're still basically interacting with beings they can't see, or maybe they appear to them as sparkles of energy. It just boggles my mind how many people have experiences with extra-dimensional, multi-dimensional beings, whatever you want to call them, elementals, fairies, sprites, elves, you know, even Bigfoot. You know, it's like these things are still happening, these interactions on a daily basis when you get out into the country and you're surrounded by nature. It's pretty wild what you will experience out here. And I love it, honestly. I mean, I do love the beach too, don't get me wrong. I still will be craving a somewhere in the Caribbean or somewhere, you know, nice and tropical and blue skies, no chemtrails. Hold the chemtrails, please. And nice warm water. So yeah, I'm still gonna crave that. But as far as feeling the peace of being way up in the mountains in the country, it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And it's really restoring for the soul. And so, hello caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
This is Regina.
Hi Regina, how are you?
Hey, I don't know if you're still on the topic, but I passed away almost in 2000. And then when I woke up, I knew it felt like I had lived, and I knew what was going to happen. So I wrote down all my dreams, and I told my parents what was going to happen, and they got kind of freaked out about it. Anyhow, on the last page that I can remember, I've written something about seeing this big red thing in the sky, and the minute that I see it, I drive home, and I'm crying, and I drive home, and I know that that's it.
So you think you saw Red Kachina?
I'm not certain what it was. But this was in 2000, and I wrote all this down. And it really, I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, I've shared before that my daughter had a dream when she was somewhere around 8 or 9 years old, and she saw it. You know, she saw this big, huge red planet or something up in the sky, and it just terrified her. But, you know, she knew it was kind of like end times-ish, you know, and it just scared the crap out of her, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it did me too. Also, somebody said go to the gorge and see the gorge. Also, if you get a chance, go to Wilson's Creek and it's Brown Mountain Beach and see if you see any of the Brown Mountain lights. I think there was a movie about it.
Okay, Brown Mountain Lights. Yeah, I definitely will. I'd love to check it out. There's so much to check out down here. It's just, I have probably like about 5 videos lined up in my head with just a lot of the local legends and stuff going on here. There's so much, and I look forward to getting out there. And you know, I'm one of those people that, you know, I always wanted to see a Bigfoot firsthand, face to face. I just couldn't wait to see one. You know, that's just me. You know, so it's like. I just got an inquisitive personality like that, and I've experienced a lot of paranormal. Maybe because I'm not really afraid of the paranormal. More afraid of, you know, somebody with a 45 going into a, you know, whatchamacallit, theater or something like that. You know, that scares me more than anything paranormal. I'm always just curious and love to check those type of things out. So I know you're close by, right?
I am. I'm in between Hickory and Lenore.
Okay.
Which is right below Blowing Rock and Boone, and that's where Appalachian is in Boone. That's where I went. One of the things that I wanted to talk about real quick is when I worked for DHHS, which is Social Services. We went through this training that they made sure that we knew who was in charge, who we were to take orders from, and what to do in each certain kind of emergency situation. I know that there's like a 60-mile radius around the McGuire Nuclear Plant in Charlotte where they have on the shelf those tablets, I guess it's potassium iodine tablets.
Yes.
And of course we went through that, and then the training was just really intense, and it creeped me out, and that happened about 6 years ago. And then they keep updating people with it. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. But I would imagine there would be a lot of different trainings going on, and I would hope there would be, you know, because I was disappointed to see how many nuclear reactors are, in the Carolinas and over in Tennessee as well. It's a lot, I'm not a big nuclear power proponent at all. Much rather see solar and wind and other things as well. But yeah, it's something to be aware of, and it's good to have those pills on hand just in case.
Right, absolutely. There's also, that ever since I was young, which was a while back, there has always been some rumors that there's some nuclear missiles on the Parkway.
Oh, you've actually seen them moving nuclear missiles on the Parkway?
No, it's always been kind of like a rumor.
Oh. Yeah.
But I don't know why it would be a rumor for so long, unless it could be some type of truth to it.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. A lot of the rumors usually do have truth behind them.
I did see something coming up 40 from what looked like Raleigh. It could have been like something going to the Space Center, or not the Space Center, the Charlotte Museum for Space and Aircraft off of Village Graham Parkway. But it was on 40 going north, and I think I was traveling to Raleigh. I was going through Statesville, and it looked like either a missile or possibly a spacecraft that they actually sent up. So that's the only strange thing I've seen on the road.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Regina. And as always, if you get any photos or anything like that, just send them on in to me at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com.
Well, I sure will, and I sent you quite a few. Some of them look similar to some of your others that you have shared. But thank you so much. This is my first time calling, and I really appreciate you. And thank you for going on there and allowing me to talk also. Okay.
My pleasure. Namaste, and maybe we'll see you around, neighbor.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. And and I do have a ton of photos for tomorrow. Some really interesting ones as well. And so that was Regina, and she's local here as well. A lot of topics. And Mark says he saw his first UFO back in '95, driving up I-77 in Statesville. I always find it interesting, and the people around here, there's a lot of curious things. So we have like a Bigfoot-like thing going on. We have UFOs. We have a lot of military helicopters, and we have a lot of rumors of deep underground military bases. So they all seem to go together. Same thing that you see out there in New Mexico as well. And perhaps it's because it's true that basically when you get to the top levels, there's interactions with these ETs, and interdimensionals, and extraterrestrials. And that's part of the real government. And Sam says, Bigfoot real in Arizona. There is, I think, kind of everywhere, even in areas that we don't even think about it so much. There are. And one thing that's interesting about Bigfoot too is they do vary a little bit as far as the look and even the temperament. And I know that there's tons of UFOs out there in the Four Corners area for sure. Tons and tons of secret military bases out that way. And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hi, my name is Heather, and I am from Niagara Falls.
Hi, Heather. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I live fairly close to the Niagara Falls airport, and I've seen some interesting things. Most recently, about a month ago, I was taking pictures of the lovely chemtrailing that they do up here.
Yes.
And right as soon as I turned my phone off of video recording, I looked up and to the right, and right up against a perfect blue sky was like this white ball. And I swear to you, as soon as I noticed it, it decided to dip away behind some clouds, and I was like, you speedy little jerk.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff up there, you know, and I think a lot of it is man-made, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it is not as well.
You know, I thought that too for a while, because I've always been interested in these types of things. And then the very first one that I ever saw was the thing that convinced me that the people, I think they were at the National Press Conference several years back, that were actually like generals and pilots talking about UFOs. I saw something in the sky that was like this bright light, and I thought, based on its movement, that it could be like a helicopter or a drone. It was going up, down, left, right, you know, typical movement of a helicopter. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like watching it, and I get this feeling that I really should have had my phone in my hand instead of a cigarette, killing myself, cancer, you know. And I didn't have my phone, and I kicked myself for that, because as soon as I was like, I should be recording this light took off like frickin' Star Trek Enterprise style. It left a streak of light in the sky and was gone within like a blink. And I've never seen anything like that. And I've seen F-16s flying. I've seen the stunt Blue Angels, because they fly every single year over Niagara Falls. I've seen those things, and I've never seen anything like this before then or after. So that officially changed my mind, that it could be something that we made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much going on up there, and it seems like more than ever. It's just, now it's crazy. It's just like daily. I think you could just, if you just spend a little time staring up at the sky each day, you'll find new things that'll just boggle your mind, perplex you, or just leave you saying, what the bleep.
I totally agree. And let me just say on the last note, it got even crazier this morning. I woke up with, like, not straight away, but about half an hour later after I woke up this morning, I had a massive pounding headache, like, just attacking the left side of my temple. And my entire life, I've only ever gotten headaches on either left or right side. It's never been an all-encompassing thing, so I don't really know why that is. But I noticed a couple weeks ago, driving down the street, that there's a lovely, huge 5G tower about a mile from my house. And so my first thought this morning, as crazy as it's going to sound, is that I put layers of tinfoil underneath a beanie hat and put it on.
There you go.
I'm not lying to you and all the people watching your channel right now, but my headache was gone in like under 3 minutes. It was the most ridiculous thing. And then I took it off like an hour later, went about my business, the headache came back, and I repeated the process. It was scientifically proven in that moment.
There you go. Well, welcome aboard. You're officially one of us now, tinfoil hat people. But you know, I opened the show talking about like one of my subscribers that's also a client. You know, she lives in Austin, and she told me it was yesterday that, you know, hey, she said, you know what? I realize it is 5G that's bothering me for sure, because every time she just tests it, she gets out of the area and she feels fine, but she's just felt like she can't think, and headaches and dizziness and all that. And so, you know, this is also, I think, part of a bigger plan that they have in store.
I am sad to agree with you, sir.
So yeah, Faraday cage, tinfoil hats, just line your hats with tinfoil, just make it so nobody could see it, you know, and just wear a hat even if it's 95 degrees.
Yeah, do what you gotta do. You have yourself an excellent night.
You too. Thanks for the call.
Peace.
Take care. So that was an interesting one, and so yeah, everybody, it's time to make our tinfoil hats. It really is now. We're at that point. 5G is at the top of the list, as Mark says. We need to understand and stand against. And I did cover that article about one town that's forcing them to limit the coverage. They're just working on getting it limited because, you know, I shared with you guys too when we were in Greenville. I mean, there's like towers everywhere, and not just one tower here, one there. They got like 4 or 5 on just one building. You know, you got to think about what that's doing to everybody in that area. It's totally crazy. And I do think it's part of that plan. And like the other caller was saying, it's about like inhibiting the ascension, because we are basically rising in vibration. And so we're going to a place where maybe they won't be able to follow in some ways. They'll lose their grips on us. So they're doing everything they can to inhibit that and to keep us in control. And as Gordon was alluding to, as you know, Sherry Jimenez says, welcome alien bros, you know, we've been under quarantine, and this comes from many, many different sources. And just think about it too. You have all these legends of star people, positive star people, you know, coming and teaching us things and helping humanity, and then they go away, but they're supposed to come back at some point in time. And meanwhile, we're left here with these legendary Draco reptilians and negative ETs that are not having our best interest in mind. So perhaps when we see some in the sky, it's actually going to be the good ones and not the bad ones. But then again, maybe they will orchestrate something where it's apparently, you know, it could be really twisted, because you could even have, say, if it is a world that's truly controlled by the Draco and the Greys, you know, or some of their worker bees and what have you, then, you know, maybe they will come out in the open making like they are the good guys and warning us of bad guys that are actually the good guys. And I've always kind of felt that would be the truth in the first place, really. But it's all pretty interesting stuff, and I want to thank everybody for taking part. It was a really good night, really interesting calls, great callers. And Brandon says he's a starseed, and yeah, you know, there's many people out there that recognize that they're starseeds, and they're here at this time to basically pave the way, and also to basically force the Cabal, Illuminati, the negative ones, the reptilians, those that have been controlling this reality for the last several thousand years, if not more, pave the way for a new society where humanity is once again going to go into a golden age. You know, there, as I've shared with you guys before, there's many legends, and the Chinese legends say that at one time, you know, man was able to fly and do all sorts of wild things and live 1,000 years or more, and we see some of those biblical references to long life. As well as the Sumerian texts and stuff. And perhaps that's what we're going to return to, is something that we were already in the past. And just basically get those abilities back again, because we're being bombarded with all this cosmic radiation that's causing all that quote-unquote junk DNA to come online, and it's not junk at all. It's actually the stuff that sets us free and brings us up to the new level. And so that's why they do the fluoridation, and that's why they do the 5G and all that, to kind of keep us under control and not let us realize that we have wings. So my friends, as always, please do thumbs up to support the channel, and do share this broadcast as well. And I want to thank everybody for taking part. God bless, my friends. Stay safe out there, and keep sharing amongst each other and amongst everybody out there. God bless. Namaste.